Hello everybody, my name is Clive Gollins.
And I'm David Reed.
And this is
From the Bench.
Everyone, welcome to From the Bench. This is going to be the first ever proper podcast. And today we're with ex-professional footballer for Norwich City, Danny Crowe. Hi mate.
Hello everyone, I'm very well, thank you. Very well.
Good.
A bit worried about you two, you seem a bit nervous.
I'm alright to be fair, I'm chilling, I feel alright.
Okay.
David, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm good. I support Lincoln. I'm normally in these tight situations.
Always in these type of situations. Danny, we're going to ask some questions about your career and how, when obviously you had quite an interesting career. What would you say is your biggest highlight of your professional career in football?
I think there's a few really, to be honest with you. I think obviously supporting Norwich and growing up through the academy, so to get a professional contract and to play in the Premier League for a team that you've supported your whole life is an achievement that I still, I go on about it today still. So I'll probably say, like, playing in the Premier League, I was very fortunate. I think, unfortunately, the other players, there was a lot of injuries, but the manager at the time, Nigel Worthing, thought I was good enough to play in the Premier League, and I played a couple of games. So probably that's my highlight.
Yeah, I mean, that's every little boy's dream, isn't it? You want to play for your best team. It might be Norwich, it might be Lincoln, it might be Wycombe Wanderers, but if you get that chance, then you've just got to grasp it. Do you feel as though you did grasp it as much as you could have?
I did. I speak to quite a lot of people about it. They say to me, what was it like at the time and things like that. But when you're in that moment, it just feels like it's going to be like that for your whole career, if you know what I mean. So when it happened, obviously, I think the first game I travelled to was Middlesbrough. We had a few injuries, and it was surreal. You fly up to like Newcastle, we stay in a hotel, and then you name them on the bench and things like that. And I only came on for I think about 5 minutes, but when you're in that moment, it just seems like this is what my career is going to be, if you know what I mean. And nothing really fazed me. I think that's what Norwich was so good at as a kid. Like you're ready to go into it. So psychologically, like there's so much work on it, and you're just ready. You wasn't nervous, just desperate to get on.
Yeah. So what do you think then to the way Norwich as a football club treated their players, and I guess the way their management was, and what the training ground was like at the time? Because obviously recently Norwich had a major overhaul at Colney, and so what was it like back then with the grounds and the pitch and just what was it like? Yeah,
I grew up in Yarmouth and things like that, in Caister, so I got spotted, I think, when I was a young kid. I think it was like 6 or 7. So Colin Watts, he's still there now, I still speak to him, and he's the one that spotted me. And you go into it, and I was going into it was called School of Excellence then, but they wanted to go over to an academy. So what they had to do was, I think we used to train somewhere in Trouse, but obviously they was then renovating Colney, so we had to have a year out. So that year out, obviously, you wasn't playing for Norwich, you couldn't go represent anyone else, even though other teams wanted you. So I had to play for like just a local team, if you know what I mean. So they was renovating, it was changing from School of Excellence over to an academy.
Yeah.
And as soon as you go into Colney, obviously, when I go there now, like what it is and what it's become is, you can't really believe where football's going. From what I remember, it was always one of the best training facilities, always one of the best academies. We used to play West Hams and people like that, and we never really ever got battered any games, if you know what I mean. It was a good system, and Norwich have always produced kids, and there's so many kids around this area, Norfolk Way, Cambridge, and Suffolk. There's so many kids, and if you're not at Norwich or Ipswich, what else is there for you really? Big clubs. I've not been disrespectful to any of like the lower league clubs or anything like that, but there's nothing else around here. And I read somewhere the other day about Todd Cantwell. He said he's got a lot of good players, friends from Norwich, and he wants to start his own thing up, and I can see why. I
think that'd be beneficial. Do you almost leave it as a little bit of a what's the word for it? Like mine's gone blank. What's the word I'm thinking of? Like a responsibility for those younger players that have got through the Norwich system. Max Aarons, Todd Cantwell, back then it was Ben Godfrey at the time, Jamal Lewis. Is it almost their responsibility to fund things like this? And I know Todd and a lot of the other lads from Norwich, that they do a lot of stuff for the community. Obviously you've got I'm not sure if it's called the Aviva Community Sports Foundation anymore, but obviously you've got the CSF, and they do a lot of work for kids around our way. And I think it's just what Norwich have built, and under Stuart Webber, this includes Daniel Farker as well to a point. I think what they've done as a football club and how the ground looks, how, when you watch these media videos, and Norwich's media team have been excellent recently, you look at the ground and you look at their new gym, it looks brilliant. David, what do you think, and why do you think it's all of a sudden become so successful?
I think it's taking more. This is where Norwich are now, but they're more in the limelight than say Lincoln are, like stuck in League One we are.
Yeah.
And when you get more of a limelight than where you are, you get more you get more sponsorship, more money. You can invest the money back into like the community and help people get more like fans in, get more money that way, and just continue. So that's what Lincoln did when we got for the FA Cup. We invested all the money on the training ground, and that's what's been attracting players for us and for you. Is helping the community, attracting more players to play for you, because if you teach them a lot of money, you need other ways to attract players, and that's how you're doing it at the moment.
What sort of questions have you got for Danny?
So like, you see you played through a lot of pre-season, so who are the 5 best players you played with and against?
With would probably be Darren Huckaby's definitely up there. He was something else. He's such a, like, even to all the young lads at Norwich, he was so good with everyone. Honestly, he was such a good player. He knew he was a good player as well, so he had that sort of swagger, but he also had a lot of time for other people as well. So Darren Huckaby's up there. Dean Ashton, even though his career was cut short, his finishing was something I've never seen before. Then I'll probably go George Boyd, who was with me at Peterborough. He went on to play for Burnley in Scotland and Sheffield Wednesday, things like that. His fitness and his technical ability, he had this ability to beat people, but he also had this ability which I wish I had. Is if someone tackled him, it would still go into his path and he'd still run with the ball. Who else is up there? Thomas Helveg. Now, he's probably before your time, really, to be honest. He was part of the Norwich when we was in the Premier League. He was Denmark international. What a player, what a man. Never seen him give the ball away.
Yeah.
Never seen him give the ball away. Great player. The next one will probably be Damien Francis, the centre mid for Norwich. Just what a player, what a person as well. Fitness. I think his career again was. I think he could have progressed, but I think he had to cut short with his knee or something like that. But he was an unbelievable player as well.
Did you ever have, just before you carry on, did you ever have any sort of injuries that really put you on the sidelines for a time, and you thought to yourself, have you ever been in a situation where you're like, oh, I'm going to be out for a good old long time this one?
I think with especially lower leagues, so when you're like League 2 and things like that, and the football and the conference and things like that, the games are so thick and fast. It's every Saturday, every Tuesday, and I think it's my hamstrings. I've done my left hamstring 3 times, I've done my right one twice. My left ankle, so I had to stop fully really because of my left ankle, which I've now got arthritis in it. And I think it's you still have good physios in place, you still have the right sports scientists, you still get looked after, but you're rushed back, everything's rushed. So I think when I done my left ankle, I think we was just trying to get in the playoffs with Newport, and my ankle wasn't right, but you just had injections. I think I was meant to be out for 12 weeks, it was 8 weeks. Do you know what I mean? So they give you injections because they want people to play. So I think like with injuries, I've never been one to shy away from it. I just do whatever you can to make me able to play, if you know what I mean. So I don't think I think like it stopped me progressing, like my hamstrings and things like that, but that comes down to I wasn't one, which I really regret, I wasn't one to stretch a lot before training. I wasn't one of them people. That's why I have a go at the lads now when they go outside and start kicking balls as hard as they can. They haven't warmed up, but that won't hurt them now. It will come to hurt them when they're in the 30s.
Yeah. So is that another thing? Like, well, obviously a legendary coach that you are. When you're coaching us here at the Football Industry College, do you ever put some of your own experiences into training sessions and into drills to try and help us, like how obviously your coaches would have helped you?
Everything, you learn off so many people, and like the amount of times people are late. Like if you talk about you today, you was a little bit late. It wouldn't happen. You wouldn't be late. Simple as that. So you wouldn't be late, because if you did, you just got you got absolutely crucified. And I was speaking to my mate the other day about it, and I was saying like, I lived when I was in Diggs in Norwich, I lived in, so it's like Gypsy Lane, so it's near the UEA, it's not far away from there. I didn't have a lot of money, you know, I'm in Diggs and things like that, all my money goes on stupid stuff, so I was a kid at the time, and you just blow your money and just think you get away with it, but if I didn't have a lift, what would happen now, what I think with a lot of these boys, if they didn't have any money, they just wouldn't come in. But I used to have to walk to Colney. 45 minutes, rain, just hoping someone would drive past me and see me.
Or one of your mates, one of your colleagues.
First team, anyone, just hoping anyone would see me, but now people wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
You used to have to do, like now it's just like, I feel like things are just
It's a very different world, isn't it now?
It is, and it's a good world, it is a good world, but like lads turn up late. It happened like on Friday, Alan and Wilson, there's 45 minutes late, you're not training. But before other people let them get away with that. And I tried to, I think myself and the other staff, we tried to embed it in you, but there's only so much you can do really. Do you know what I mean? So the jobs, we was never told, we just do it. We just had to do the jobs. Do you know what I mean? And we tried to run things here like that, to put the ball in your court to grow up and things like that, but how it is at the minute, we just got to keep being on at people and on at people.
Yeah, I think it's about, well, when you say about obviously giving that responsibility to our age, like obviously there comes a point where obviously you can't really keep battering on to us, and you got to let us try and learn it ourselves. And I think what we do at this college is so good, because sometimes if you give us the option and it isn't done, obviously then you get on to us, and that's how it should be. And like I think the way this college runs things is brilliant, and obviously you've probably learned a lot of that through the way you've been coached. And a question I think David has been curious to ask is, when standing in the tunnel, who have you looked next to you and gone, bloody hell? Have you ever had a starstruck moment where you're standing in the tunnel, or even you're sitting on the bench, you're looking at the bench next to you, and you're thinking, bloody hell?
I wouldn't say starstruck. I think I'm more like them when you're lining up and I know I'm against a centre half, probably lower leagues, and you look at him and think, you look like you're horrible. And I know what the game's going to be about.
Yeah.
I know he's going to be just nipping your elbow. That's probably the only time. I think it probably reverts back to the question about the 5 best players. I was lucky enough, even at Peterborough, Barry Fry had who was like the owner and things like that, the chairman, he had a friendly booked in pre-season. We had Man United, but he was really close with Alex Ferguson. So Alex Ferguson, it was sort of like I think it's his testimonial, something like along those lines. Full house, basically. Peterborough Stadium. I don't know if you've ever been to Peterborough Stadium, but Peterborough behind to the right of the dugout, they just had that section, and Man United had the rest of the stadium.
Really?
So I think there's about 15,000 say they made, but he bought everyone. Like there was 2 teams of Ronaldo, Rooney, Giggs, Scholes, Van Nistelrooy, Rio Ferdinand, Vidic. Every single player was there. Played that. Well, it was just ridiculous. I think Van Nistelrooy scored a hat-trick, and then at half-time they brought on Ryan Giggs and things like that. You're just thinking, this seems surreal, but at the time, once again, like I say to you, it just seems quite normal.
I guess when you're in that environment, you're living and breathing it every day. You're seeing the Norwich badge as you go into training. You're looking at Premier League. You've got the Premier League badge on your sleeve. You're like, this is just normal now. I guess. Do you almost have that point where it almost gets taken for granted? And do you think players do that now?
I think you do take it for granted. That's my regret. It's not enjoying the times because it was such a short time. Obviously, I think I was only involved for 4 or 5 games in Norwich. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it seemed like it was just that was how the season was going to go. But then people come back from injury who are 20 times better than me. Dean Ashton, all these people come back. And then I was out on loan at Northampton in League 2, and it's you do take things for granted no matter what. And I always say that to people, I wish I stayed in the game. I think when I left Newport, I went to Lowestoft. There's no disrespect to Lowestoft, but then I had teams in the conference, Wrexham, and people like that calling me. And I wish I sort of just progressed with that.
Took those. Do you wish you would have took those opportunities, say at Wrexham for example, and then all of a sudden maybe you do well at Wrexham and a bigger team comes looking? Do you wish you would have progressed your career like that, or do you not have like too many regrets in terms of the way your career went?
Yeah, you always have regrets, but none that really affect me now. I still think like I should have played higher. I still regretted not playing Championship.
Yeah.
I had so many opportunities to potentially go there, and like teams were watching me, and I think bids come in from when I found out a few years back when I spoke to Barry Fry. He was turning down bids and things like that. I nearly went to Watford. They then got promoted to the Premier League. So it was, but that is football. You nearly go somewhere. Anything can happen. So I don't really have any regrets. I think my only regrets is myself, like in the sense of like my lifestyle, and like you say, the key word is taking things for granted.
Yeah.
I wish I didn't take things for granted.
Yeah, but I guess obviously that will be a regret, but there's not really much you can do about that when obviously you are in that situation. Obviously, I think players now take it for granted. I mean, you look at Todd Cantwell recently he's been out of the game and he hasn't really done much with the club. Obviously he's getting back involved now, and I think Dean Smith and Craig Shakespeare are a big part of that, but I think even he and a lot of other footballers are probably quite like they just take the game for granted. I mean, once you're in that position and you know you're good enough, obviously there comes a point where you're like, oh, I'll get picked next week.
Yeah, but there's clearly issues there with himself and the manager. So I've been there many times when like you're left out and things like that. So there's obviously issues there with him and Farty. He's a hell of a player. For me, he's one of the best that Norwich have ever produced, and they've produced so many good players. But how the sort of player he is, how technically good he is, and to be fair, his mindset really, when you see him in games, he gets kicked. Even if Norwich are losing, he always wants the ball. So for me, like there was an issue there, obviously with Fark, and now obviously Dean Smith's come in, and hopefully
he'll start getting back on the ball.
You see what he's done with young English talent at Aston Villa, so hopefully he keeps doing it with Norwich.
For me, Todd Cantwell, what do you think, Dave? I think Todd Cantwell is one of these players that could go to the very top.
I think he can go to, but he needs the right management around. He needs the right playing style. And he needs the right way of playing football. We look at some footballers nowadays, like they don't have the right. One manager can suit them, but then another manager will suit them, and that's where he needs to find him. We know what Dean Smith did for Jack Grealish and players like that. You know what he can if he listens to him and actually wants to progress as a player. I think he will do well. It's just up to him now what he wants to do in football, and it's up to him to listen now, really.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's got to just sort of realise, right, new manager, new start. Just like what Dean Smith is doing with this Norwich team. It's basically it's a blank canvas for him, isn't it? Really, and I think. What do you think? Where do you think Norwich can go this season?
I obviously hope they stay up. I think like me and you spoke a couple of weeks ago, we was joking about it, just hoping they beat Derby, score 13 points. You know, don't want to go down as one of the worst teams in history, because Derby, like, we all sort of talk about it now. How many years ago that was. So I think it's obviously he's got to come in. He wants to keep the club up, and I think the two, 3 results that he's had or since he's come in, I don't know how many games it is, but he obviously got a win, he got a draw, and I think when you speak to people, I think not winning against Wolves is a disappointment, whereas if Fark would have got that win, we'd all probably been happy to get that win.
That's what I mean. So it shows the difference in levels, doesn't it, between the two managers? I
just think like even like his Brentford teams, when you look at what he created there, and he's played a part in them going up. Do you know what I mean? He built them platforms ready for where they are, and what he done at Aston Villa, and hopefully he does the same at Norwich. So, you know, I think they stayed up the year before for the last game of the season. Grealish scored, didn't he? So hopefully, you know, I think he's got the players. Is their squad good as Aston Villa back when they stayed up without all them new signings, all that money being spent? I think so.
I think I agree to a certain point. I think the squad is good enough for me, in my opinion. I think there's plenty of squad depth in that position. Brandon Williams is in play. Gianoulis is just as good as him, I feel. And I think you've got that across most of the park. I think in January, if there is to be any business done, if there's any money left out of that 50 million that Norwich City spent in the summer, bring in a striker. I think he's got to bring it. I love Josh Sargent to bits, and the one thing I love about Josh Sargent, he did help against Wolves as well, is his work rate. He's one of the hardest working footballers I've ever watched play football. he absolutely runs his arse off every single game, and I think that's the type of thing Norwich need. Looking at the Wolves game, looking at the second half Southampton game, Norwich are going to press this season, and then I think we're going to end up being one of the hardest working teams in the Premier League, and it seems like Dean Smith wants us to press and wants us to press high.
Well, he looks like I think he's a counter-attacking manager, really, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think you look at Villa, how he was with them. Obviously, they had Grealish who could get them, just run at people, win free kicks and things like that. So I think that's where Norwich has struggled, really, like I've said to you before, with pace. I think, and especially in the wide areas. And I think now that, what's the name, Rashica, isn't it?
Rashica, he's starting to light up.
I think before Norwich lacked that pace, you look at Watford, you look at every other Premier League team, they've got pace in their team going forward.
Yeah.
And obviously Pookie plays on the shoulder and things like that. He's not as fast as he was when he was first in the Premier League when he came up with us. So I think obviously, they just need, the signings will be like attacking. That's how I see it as a fan or whatever. But I think, like we've said before, they lack pace in certain areas, especially like during a transition.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on to back towards your career, and a question that I'm quite curious to know is what is the, I know I said about like getting starstruck in the tunnel, but what's the one stadium you've been to, or one of the, I'll ask two questions. What the largest stadium you've ever been to?
Like Wembley.
Like played in.
Wembley, yeah.
Cool.
Wembley's the biggest one. I played Old Trafford for. We were Norwich in Man United FA Youth Cup, we played there. West Ham, I like that one, the old ground though, that was proper heated. I've been fortunate enough to play a few, but obviously Carrow Road, can't beat it, can you?
Yeah, you can't beat a full capacity Carrow Road. 37,000. David, what sort of, have you got any other questions?
Bank, is it? Central Bank?
LEDR stage.
Central Bank. Were you ever lucky enough to play at the Lincoln
Scored
Stadium?
loads of goals there, yeah.
There's no chance I can't.
I've scored goals there, mate.
Not many.
I've scored goals there, mate.
I reckon he scored
I
more.
don't think I've ever lost. You should have done your stats, mate. I don't think I've ever lost at Lincoln.
Cool. How does that one feel, Dave? What sort of questions have you got that
I
might
can't
have
be
Danny on his toes?
I can't be surprised how bad Lincoln was back in the day now. When you look at the team back then, it just wasn't that good. But nowadays,
Well, I thought you said they was really good. We had a conversation out there.
we were good on the Cowley. He had a good, solid squad. That was a long time ago now. It was Michael Appleton.
Yeah.
But so like you, so was Schmeichel talking about for his career, the rules were changing for him. How did the rules change for you go through your career, in the Premier League and EFL, different rules?
Rules. There's offside one. The offside one. What was it? I think they changed it where, obviously when you're running through a goal, you can sweat it. I think it was you couldn't do a forward or certain pass. That confused me quite a lot, to be honest. I still don't understand that.
Was the sweating originally not a thing? Was it not?
No, you could do it, but I think you had to. I can't remember if the boys go forward or something like that. Something changed in that, but I'm not that old. I don't think the rules have changed that much.
Was it? So if you're crossing the ball, did the striker have to be behind?
I think the ball had to be played forward. I think.
Oh, I see.
Don't quote me on it, but
Yeah.
I think that happened.
Yeah.
But other rules, mate, I'm not that old. Do you think I was playing when we went offside?
I think I get what you mean though, because obviously recently rules have changed a lot,
Yeah,
and now you're allowed. Is it both centre halves or one of the centre halves allowed to be in the box for a goal
It's
kick?
mainly VAR. Yeah, I suppose then. Yeah,
You've got these little rules that have been changing through the game over the last few years. Obviously, VAR's now in. And
yeah. Probably one. Obviously, like you just said, probably the players allowed in the box. But yeah, other than that, it's not really. There haven't been too many rules changed, to be honest. I don't think there has.
Danny, have you ever been sent off before?
Never.
You've never been sent off. Have you ever been booked?
Been booked, yeah.
You've been booked.
Never been sent off.
Have you ever?
See, people think I'm a hothead. I am a hothead. But
You know when to keep it calm.
yeah, I'll just wind them up.
Yeah. Have you ever had a situation where you're like, God, this referee is a right bastard?
Yeah, there's quite a few. You're not allowed to swear on this podcast, surely.
Nah, we're alright.
There's been a lot of them, yeah. Ones who you just. I always used to try and get the referees on side. That's what I tried to do. But I think when you play, they just come across so arrogant that you can't talk to them. I see there's that issue up at Ipswich. I think one of the Ipswich players or the referee headbutted him and things like that. And it's some of them they're not approachable. Like you're trying to talk to them, so it's funny. I don't know, you two might be talking down to this referee. I might just want to talk to him, but they're just so dismissive of you. And it's so frustrating because they do get a lot of abuse, and they don't deserve that abuse. But some of them actually do, just from like how arrogant they come across, or they won't give you decisions when just us every one of them. He always said, "Get the referee on side. Get the referee on side," because you don't want them against you.
Yeah, definitely not. I think Simon Hooper is a referee that certainly isn't welcome at Carrow Road. All I ever hear whenever that man is refereeing at Carrow Road is no. In all the times he's played, he has not had a good refereeing performance at Norwich once.
I like Mike Dean. I like how he celebrates his decisions.
I think. Was it a Tottenham goal when he went like that? he was well happy when they scored, and I think it's not obviously not everyone likes Mike Dean. I feel bad for him with some of the stick that he's got, some of the abuse that he's received in his family, which totally isn't fair and don't condone it at all. Mm-hmm. And I think that he's a referee that does have a bit of character. Like obviously you watch the Premier League shorts videos and they show Mike Dean funny moments, and the fact that there's a referee in the Premier League that has a YouTube video of funny moments is we need that more in the game, and I think with Mike Dean when he hit the match ball from Aguero that time, that was funny, and I think it's obviously sometimes his decisions aren't great. He loves the yellow and red card. He loves pulling out the cards. But
he likes being in control.
We need a little bit more personality in the game, and I think Declan Rice is a footballer that's bringing that back as well. Like what Roy Keane said about Harry Maguire the other week was hilarious. When he spoke to him, and it sounded like a robot. And I think players just got to. I know obviously they got to stay professional, but did you ever have many interviews like with Sky Sports or with any of the medias in the EFL?
Yeah, you have got a lot. You just open and honest, but
do you ever get nervous in those interviews, or like with Declan Rice, like James Maddison? Obviously, they let themselves go.
But they're different. I think so you look at Harry Maguire and you look at all them people. I think like the pressure, there's obviously pressures at all football clubs, no matter what level it is. So, but I could say something, and there might be 50 people listen to it. But when Harry Maguire, Solskjaer, all these people talk, they can't make any mistakes. They're not going to please everyone, and sometimes I feel like you have to be a robot, especially with all the social media, everything like that, because they're just going to get crucified. And especially when you've got someone like Roy Keane, who's a legend, who loves that club and is against Harry Maguire anyway. Do you know what I mean? So you can't win. So I can imagine they've been absolutely petrified.
Well, every time they get called over to the side of the pitch. And
listen, when he scored for England and they won 7-0, he wants to get interviewed. Yeah. When it's his fault for the goals.
Man United get pumped 4-1 against Wolves.
He don't want to get interviewed. He don't want to. Do you know what I mean? He don't want to get interviewed, but he has to do it. There's rules in the game where no matter what, and they know what they're doing, like the Sky Sports, and that's all in the contracts and things like that. You have to speak. You can't. I think it's got to be like 5-10 minutes after the game. You can't go any longer because they want that heated debate. They want them players to be hurt, and they want the emotions. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So I admire people like that who can stand in front of the camera when they've been crucified by 80,000 people.
Yeah. Obviously you're going to know more than us, and it might have changed since you were playing, but when you're getting interviewed, do you get told before the game that you've been selected for the interview, like after the game or before the game?
Yeah, so I think what it is, all managers have to do it within a time frame. I think it's 5 minutes, but I think that's me being generous. So I think like you obviously see when you watch Premier League, EFL, things like that, like players that get interviewed, don't they, like literally on the pitch. Yeah. So I think that there's rules in place for all sponsorships and things like that. They have to do that, but you don't know. You just say we're playing a game now in this room. Yeah. You score a hat trick. I'm your captain. Do you know what I mean? Me and you get interviewed. If you don't score that, he scored a hat trick. Well, never happens. He can't score. But do you know what I mean? He'll get interviewed. So you never know. You have going back to Norwich and all things like that. As a kid, you have all you've been made to do it. So you've been put in a situation, take you out of your comfort zone, to have that press conference and get asked questions. You have all that training, things like that, and that's something I want to do here with these boys. Like, I want to do interviews, I want to do things like that, I want to put them on the spot. We've done a couple, but we need to do more, because if some of them, one of them or two of them or whoever, how many can potentially make it, like Henry Arnold at the minute, if he made it, he wouldn't be able to sit in front of a camera.
He hates the camera, doesn't
He hates it.
we tried to talk to him before after a game, and he wouldn't have none of it. So
but it's part and parcel of football, because if he didn't do that interview, his club are getting fined and he's getting fined. So, yeah.
As part and parcel of it being a professional in any sport, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
After a boxing match, if you get knocked out on the canvas in the first round in like a minute or so, once you're all woken up and you made sure you're alright, you're probably still going to get interviewed before you go home.
That's it. Yeah, but you have all. So you say, do you get nervous and things like that? I don't think you really do. They used to do things on Soccer AM. You used to go to the football ground and everyone wanted to be on it.
Yeah.
Everyone wanted to be on Soccer AM. They wanted to be doing the challenge. They wanted to be. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think I've ever been one of them people to worry about not making things, making mistakes and things like that. I try to every day when I coach you boys. I feel like when I coach, everything's quick. Everything's sometimes a mumble and things like that. But it don't ever bother me. I just try to speak normally. If people don't understand me, they don't understand me. Simple as that.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is good, because it's like, obviously it will show people that are watching at home that if you are nervous, you just got to just keep going, just keep trying. And obviously I like talking in front of the camera. I've sort of got used to it. I used to make YouTube videos when I was younger, and I feel like I'm a fairly confident person. I think this starting doing this has brought you a bit out of your comfort zone, hasn't it?
Yeah, I just enjoyed talking about my opinion, so it's been nice, guys.
Yeah. But everyone's good at other things. You two are passionate about this. Do you know what I mean? But like you say, you put Henry Arnold in here to do this, he can't do it. But then on the football pitch, because you have different pathways, you can't do what he does.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I could go put Henry in front of, I don't know, say Anfield, halfway line, run on the ball, try and kick to the crossbar, he won't be nervous. Whereas you would be.
If I did that, I'd
see, but it's roles reversals. Everything. It's all about practice, and what you boys are doing here is brilliant for you both. Do you know what I mean? You come to that game, you're going to do commentary and do analysis on the game at Wednesday, and it's just trying to provide sort of opportunities where when I want Henry to do it, he thinks I'm trying to pick on him, but it's not, because
it's going to help him. Eventually, the thing is, with Henry, he is good enough, and I think he'll go far. And if he does go far, one day someone's going to put a mic in front of him.
Yeah, it's all just practice. It's all about just practicing. Like you boys go home and practice doing this. It becomes repetitive. You get used to it.
Yeah. When going more back to your career again, Damien, I want to ask. Obviously now you're a coach. You know what being a coach is like. So how do you feel you were treated as a player from your coaches? That this could be at any of the clubs. This could be at Newport. This could be at Norwich. How do you feel you were treated as a player?
I think you just get what you put into it. I'm open and honest. I think some managers have got on really well with and treated me well. Others I didn't see eye to eye with. I look back on that now, and it's mainly probably because of me. But I think like I don't know. I think all managers have been quite good with me, to be honest. I think like towards the end of it, I never really stayed at a club longer than 2-3 years. So I don't know. I wish sometimes, like Luton's one, I wish I stayed that longer. I love that club, and it was a manager come in, he didn't like me, I didn't like him, and things like that happen. It is football, but the previous two managers I got on really well with. So you're always going to have different managers. They all have different ideas. They all have different ways of playing. You might be a good player for the other manager. I might be a good player for you, but he might not like the way I play. Do you know what I mean? So there's so many different things in football. There's so many different opinions, so many different minds and things like that, and it's trying to adjust to the managers, and that's what I didn't ever used to do. I didn't think, I've got to adjust how I'm going to play. I've got to adjust because he plays this way. I didn't really ever, and as a coach now, I look at that and I regret that. Do you know what I mean? But at the time, you don't think, I'm not going to change the way I play. But he wanted to potentially help me. Some of them did. I'm not saying he wanted to Luton, he didn't want to help me. Just didn't like
you did like him, did you?
No.
Yeah. What would you say? Obviously, Luton must be close to your heart. But what would you say was your favourite season, or even your best goal scoring season? Like, what was the season you thought, God, I was good that year?
Probably the first year when I left Norwich, when I went to Peterborough, got player of the season. I think I scored like 17 or 17 something league goals, and then in the cups I scored about 25 goals. Got player of the year. I was only 20, and there was talks of me going to here, there, and everywhere.
Really?
It never really happened, like what I said to you earlier about Watford and
Yeah.
things like that. That's probably like an individual one that stands out for me.
Yeah.
But then I've had ones like, I've been lucky, like the teams I've played for, like Peterborough, when we had all the money come in and Darren McCanty took over, and we had such a good dressing room, such good players, and I was a bit of a part player, to be honest. But I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed my time at Peterborough. Luton, I was a great set of lads, like old school lads like Kevin Nichols, Kevin Gallen, Keith Keane, who I still speak to now. You had a good set of lads, and Newport as well. Obviously, I think whenever you achieve anything, you always have a good time. You know, get promoted from League Two, all that sort of stuff. Getting promoted from the conference is always good. But individually, we would be Peterborough, I would say. But then I don't know, because then Luton had done well, Cambridge had got a player of the season, so it's tough.
I guess obviously with Norwich, you didn't spend much time there, but obviously also with Norwich, you got different experiences, didn't you? Obviously, you got the experience to sort of sometimes stand next to players that you thought, God, I didn't think I'd ever be playing against him.
But Norwich opened my eyes, because obviously I was a kid from 6-7 years old, gone away up to 19, and how I fell out. I had an agent at the time who was a local Norwich guy, I won't say his name, but he's probably one of the main reasons why I left Norwich, because I didn't want to leave Norwich. But when I went on loan to Northampton, you get a story here. I went to Northampton on loan, and Nigel Worthington sent me there because obviously Dean Ashton, people that come back, Neil McKenzie, and I was going to Northampton, and Nigel Worthington said, what advice should you give to Crowley to Hucks? And Huck said, just wear your shin pads and protect your eyes. And I remember the first game, I just got bang out, I cut my eye open. I was thinking, but I scored, to be fair, but I remember thinking, like, this is football, this is men's football. Like, I was part of this, like, people were telling me I might get a new deal, people were talking, saying how well I was doing, but then I got out on loan the next week. But my agent at the time, without me knowing, he asked Nigel Worthington, or sent an email or something like that, to offer me, saying I want a new contract. But I didn't know nothing about it. So I had a game, so I remember, I think I got a phone call on the Monday from Nigel Worthington saying, come in, I want to see you at the reserve game. I said, alright, Gaffer, that's fine. I was oblivious to what happened with his email, I didn't have a clue. So we had a game no, I didn't. So I went there, so I had to go back from Northampton back to Norwich to the game, and he's got me in his little office. He absolutely laid into me.
Really?
Laid into me, like, who do you think you are, demanding a new contract? I said, what are you on about? So you asked me for a new deal. I said, I have no idea what you're on about. And then he put this letter down and went, this is what your agent sent me. I read it, I didn't even have a clue.
Really? What did he say after that?
Didn't know what to say, because he thought I knew. I didn't, honestly, hand on my heart, I didn't have a clue. I didn't even ask for a new deal. I think I had a year with a year option. I was happy. I went on good money. I was happy because I was at Norwich, do you know what I mean? So I was happy, and my agent sent that in, and then he sort of, well, you must have known. So I didn't know, Gaffer. I wouldn't lie to you. Listen, I'm happy. But then ever since then, I never really spoke to him.
Really?
Never spoke to him. Last time I spoke to him was when he said to me, you can stay if you want to, or you can go out and play football. There's people ahead of you, like obviously all the players we spoke about, and Jarv and Ian Henderson and things like that. They're ahead of you, but I believe that I could have played a part, even though they're better than me. But I never give up really. But I just thought, you know what, that's it then.
So if that hadn't happened, if that little part in your storyline hadn't happened, do you feel as though you could have stayed in Norwich for another season, 2 seasons?
I think that
maybe built your way into the first team a bit more.
Yeah, and I hope one day, he probably won't even remember it, Nigel Worthington. I think he lives up in Fakenham, does bits there. And if I ever see him, I won't see him again. But if I ever did, he won't remember it anyway. But I would say to him, like, I had nothing to do with that.
No idea.
Because I do that. I look back and it hurt me that leaving Norwich, because I didn't ask for a new deal.
Yeah.
I didn't ask for it. My agent done it behind my back, and that made me realise that football is naughty.
It can be one of the nicest places in the world, or it can be one of the most cruel.
Yeah.
David,
Sure.
what do you think, David? What do you think to the way football is getting run?
I think it depends. Like we live in Lincoln, it's what the manager wants, what the club wants, and you've got to fit into that. And with Danny, what you're saying, like you didn't fit in eventually, and We look at Mike Clapton talking about Lincoln's first season. He fell out with a lot of the players he did, told them no one wanted, and he's tried to build something and failed massively. But if you don't fit into a party, don't fit into the world of football at that team, that club, if they don't want you, you can't really fit in. You can't see many players. Some players do bounce back, and you see them like want to play football and do well eventually. But it's hard, like seeing.
But players don't, like you hit the nail on the head, David. Players are too arrogant to adjust to what the manager wants, because I've been there.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with what David's saying. And I know like Michael Appleton and things like that, and you have a podcast, you're not happy with him. But the first year he did do well, didn't he?
He didn't. The problem was though, when he left us, we had Jamie McCoomb in charge of us. He was the defensive coach.
Yeah.
And
he tall centre half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
But he left us in such a bad place. He did that. But, we panicked. We did. And we had a good score. We had a Kindy players. Like we had players who could do a job. And then eventually he fell as we sold a Kindy. We had a lot of goals to drive up eventually. Then.
But do you think he looks at it and do you think he's wrong then for? He's trying to build a squad there, like which nearly went up, didn't you? So
close.
Do you think he's trying to change the squad too much to go up, or do you think them players could have got the team promoted?
I think we're sitting first with Danny Cowley the first 4 or 5 games. We were playing good football, but when Cowley came and talked on the EFL, we did say he's not leaving, and you could tell after that he was going, and you could sort of the mentality of the squad went like nobody was playing football. When after now we're buying low players, we're buying young players. We've got no leaders there. Our leader is Joe Walsh, and
He was injured.
Yeah, he's played 27 games in 2 seasons. We've got no leads now. I think 1 game this season we had Joe Walsh. He was the oldest player in the team, and most people are 20 or younger, and he's been told to lead. And we look at Appleton's style of player, well, he's just not playing a style of football that fits Lincoln. Like Luke Wardfall talking on the Cowley, they go 3-0 down with 10 minutes to go. They need to win the game. Nowadays, if you're 1-0 down at Lincoln at Accrington, it's 1-0 lots. He's killed Lincoln, yes. And let's say in the week he did what I showed you. Like he wants to promote youth. Care about he doesn't care about success, and he said that, and he's saying, "Oh, the players get anxiety. The players aren't playing well." When he's slating week in, week out.
He's saying that because he knows deep down the squad that he's built is not good enough to go up.
I think last season it was good enough to go up.
Do you think it's good enough now, though? Because I think the same sort of thing.
We sold Grant. We sold. Brennan went away. We brought no players. We brought a very deep line of players now. And he's playing a deep line of football. It's counter-attacking football. And when we watched against Portsmouth, I think it was, when we got the ball into the final areas, the wingers are too wide. Yeah. We've got Freddie Draper as our own striker at the moment, Hopper's out, injured again. And the midfielders are too deep, there's nobody scoring goals at the moment. With Scully out, he's our top scorer, he's on 7. And that's saying last season we scored over 102 goals in the whole season.
I was looking, because I thought you were going to ask me questions, because I've done a bit of my research. You know the 4th or 5th worst team for goals for this year? I
can't surprise. We look at our attacking output like Scully, like Chris
down there.
We've got Chris Maguire, he's not good. We've got Alan Luckman and Ludum Hopper. We've got nobody stepping up really, and we've got the players. Last season he played them for full 90 minutes, I think 20-25 games in a row, and it really injured a lot of players. Our recruitment's been atrocious. Hasn't even happened. He's eventually said it's terrible. We're going to try and buy reinforcements in.
It's an easy place to go, mate. I've scored goals there. I've won most games there. It's an easy place to go. You fans, you don't create enough of an atmosphere.
Oh, we do create.
That's what I love about that's what I love about Carrow Road, because obviously when the Norwich fans do get going, often, sorry to anyone who sits in the other side of the stadium, but it is usually the Barclay, the Snake Pit, maybe the South Stand to get involved if they're feeling a fruity. But for me, it's just what you were saying earlier about Michael Appleton and obviously coming in with a new philosophy, and it didn't really work. This just reminds me of Daniel Farker to the end of his run. Last season, Norwich City were playing some of the best football I've ever seen this football club play, and that was partly because of one absolute magician, Emi Buendia. He no longer wanted to be here, and Webber sort of baited him out a little bit in an interview. And I think Daniel Farker, we were playing some gorgeous attacking football, and that's what Daniel Farker was known for, even in that last Premier League season. How I will say that season went is Norwich got relegated, but we had fun along the way. And that was because we were playing this exciting, expansive, attacking football. And at times, when it didn't work, it was horrible. But when it worked, it was bloody brilliant, wasn't it? Norwich beat Man City. We went on that little cup run against
what would you rather do? Would you rather stay in the league though, playing rubbish football, or would you rather play expansive football and get relegated?
That's a good point, because I'd rather do what...
Answer the question.
I'd rather us play boring football and stay in the division.
Okay.
And this is what I think Daniel Farke tried to do this season. He came up, everyone was expecting... You brought in Milo Rashica, you brought in Josh Sargent, you brought in Christos Jolis. None of them got used, really, under Milo Rashica probably played 4 or 5 full 90-minute games under Daniel Farke in the space of however many games it was that he was still in charge. And he came up and he went in his shell. Daniel, not the players. Daniel Farke spent all this money. Everyone was excited. And all of a sudden, first game of the season, we look so boring. We're playing this football, and against these big teams, it's not. When you play against a team like Chelsea, like Liverpool, you have to go at them, and if you don't, you're going to get battered. You can't sit back and defend against a Chelsea because they're going to score goals. When I love Grant Hanley to bits, but when you've got a centre back who's on his day is a quality centre half, but for me, he does make too many mistakes. Grant Hanley has always got a mistake in him, and I love the bloke to bits, and I think he's a quality. Like I said, on his day when he's playing well, he's a quality centre half. I think Ben Gibson recently has probably been one of our most consistent players over the last 3 games. I think he's had 3 of his best games in the Norwich shirt so far. And I think, obviously, at the minute under Dean Smith, we're looking better. We are starting to play that more exciting football. We're pressing the ball. We're looking better. But I think when Daniel Farke came up, like you said about Michael Appleton, he changed it. For some reason, he changed it. Brought in all these players, and all of a sudden, all of them were like, hang on a minute, we're supposed to be zipping the ball around like Barcelona. We're not playing out not playing long ball. That's not what Norwich do. Norwich don't play long ball. So we were doing that, and obviously it wasn't working. Daniel Farke arguably could have lost a bit of the dressing room. Definitely lost Billy Gilmore and Todd Cantwell. They both weren't happy. How he wasn't playing a star like Billy Gilmore, I'll never know. But I think it's just like what you said. It's a similar sort of situation with Daniel Farke. Unfortunately, because of that, he lost his job. And for me, I'll always love Daniel Farke, and I think it's very rare a manager leaves a football club and still has so much love from the fans, and that's what he did get. And if he doesn't make it into our Hall of Fame, I don't know who will, because what he done in the seasons that he was here completely revolutionised the club. Him and Stuart Webber, what they've done for this football club is absolutely incredible, and I'll always be happy for him for that. And I'm hoping a championship team, whether that's, have Cardiff got a new manager yet?
Yeah, Chris
or whoever it is, championship team takes Daniel Farke under their wing. And I hope that he gets a good job in the championship, because I know no matter what championship, he knows that league like the back of his hand, and I think he can do wonders for him. Danny, what do you think? What went so wrong for Daniel Farke?
I think the fans turned on him, didn't they? I think most of them had every right to, but I think in a way, like we used to speak every Monday, didn't we, Clive? And like you look at it and you're just disappointed. I think all the fans were, and I think that's where it sort of went wrong. I think everyone wanted him to succeed.
Yeah.
But he just, for whatever reason, like you said, we don't know, but it didn't work out, did it? You know, a new manager comes in, a fresh face. Hopefully, it's at the right time to sort of get enough out of it. But I don't know, from someone looking afar, and you look at people like Todd Cantwell and people like not even in the squad, something's clearly gone wrong there between the relationship and whoever it is. So that's how I look at it. I think any other manager in the run that he went on would have got sacked. You know, look how well Dean Smith done last year at Aston Villa, and this year they lose a few games and he's gone.
I think we were almost loved Daniel Farke to bits, but I think at the time we were very lucky he left the door when he did.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
All of a sudden I don't know why Villa actually sat. I think Dean Smith could have still been in the Villa job now. But
I think Lampard would have got it if he had.
Yeah, I think if Dean Smith didn't lose his job, I feel that Lampard would have been at the helm now, and who knows what a Frank Lampard Norwich City would look like. I think you'd bring in the youth. Abu Kamara obviously scoring goals for fun for the second team, and obviously I saw him. He was in first team training the other day under Dean Smith. So hopefully Dean Smith's going to bring through some of the youth, as that's what Norwich are known for recently. Obviously Jamal Lewis's career with Newcastle has gone a bit like that. He's starting some games, not starting others. I think it's Jacob Murphy is actually doing quite well for Newcastle. I'm pretty sure he's a regular starter now. Ben Godfrey at Everton, he's done quite well for them, sort of bedded himself into the first team a bit after a few injuries, and I think he'll stay in that first team. And I think obviously somehow we've still got hold of two jewels, Max Aarons, Todd Cantwell. Max is having a good season so far. I think he had a really good game against Wolves, and hopefully I do, as much as I love Jolis and I love Josh Sargent, I would like to see Todd get back into the team, as I think that's where he should be. And could I see any outgoings in January? To be honest, I don't think so.
You're asking yourself questions and answering them. You're asking yourself questions.
I do.
Me and David just sat here listening to you.
I do like a rhetorical question.
Yeah, you do, don't you?
I do love a rhetorical question.
You ask yourself so many questions.
Well, go on, David. The fun of the podcast, eh? Hopefully everyone at home is enjoying what they've been watching so far. And obviously it's been really good to have you on, Danny. And David, have you enjoyed this podcast?
It's been fun.
Yeah, it's been brilliant, isn't it? I think
you got all these questions. Look.
Yeah, we
spent all this time, David does. And how many questions you asked me?
I've got the majority of them answered already.
Are they?
Yeah.
I think a lot of them, to be fair, we did answer just in conversation. I think obviously me and David, we're just sort of starting out, and hopefully this is the start of something special from the bench.
You are good, both of you. You talk very well. It is good.
And hopefully we can sort of get through it and get better as we go. And I think the more we have a camera, the more we have a mic in our faces, I think the better, the more fluid we're going to get. And Danny, I do have one last question to ask you, and it is about Norwich.
Yeah.
Will they stay up this season?
Yes.
Yes. I love that from you. David Reed, will Lincoln stay up this season?
No.
I think you've
Be honest.
I think
they have got results recently. They've got a couple
we
of
haven't
results.
scored in
here and
3
there.
games we haven't.
They scored 5 goals in 6 games, mate.
Ah, right, well.
Yeah, but we have been keeping clean sheets.
Yeah, someone who looks at Lincoln.
You lost 1-0 game then, mate. So.
Yeah.
You were from
Before
someone.
that, we kept clean sheets.
From someone who looks at Lincoln only because of you, I feel like I don't think that they're not the worst team in the league, and
It's
you
been
have
the worst
picked-
football.
you are
I used to look forward to
result
playing
every now and
Lincoln. I used to look forward to playing Lincoln because I knew 6 points,
Yeah.
goal bonuses, win bonuses. It's just been easy.
That's back in the black and white days. You obviously we've changed since then, you know.
Mate, that was when you was half decent as well. You haven't been good since then.
We have been decent in recent
Mate,
times.
the Cowleys done you wonders. And now look at you.
Michael.
But actually, I say look at you. Me and you have this argument all the time. They're a League One club now.
For Lincoln,
There should be a League One club.
No.
There should be a League Two club.
Yes. The finances aren't.
Would you
so
say,
good.
despite
should be happy.
how badly you're playing, and I could say the same for Norwich, despite how badly we're playing, every time Norwich are in the Premier League, they are punching above their weight. Delia Smith's worth 30 million. Frank was about to come in and be worth more than Delia Smith. Do you know how ridiculous that is for a Premier League club's owner to be worth 28 to 30 million quid? That's less than what we sold Emi Buendia for. So when you look at it that way, yes, you're losing games. You're still punching above your weight, aren't you?
It was the thing. Look at Clive Hayes.
He's never happy. He's never happy.
He
I
can't be
want
satisfied.
a consistent club. I don't a club that keeps have to buy loan players every year. I want a consistent team, like.
Yeah, but we're not consistent.
Yeah,
I'm
but
happy
you've
with that.
got players that have been here for a long time. You can't never link a player to be there more than 3 years.
Yeah, but
We've got no
our
relation,
performances
But
aren't
that
consistent.
is lower league, mate.
We've kept players for a
That's
long
what it
time.
is.
Like Matt Reed, whatever, he was there for such a long
Yeah,
time.
I knew that name. That name, I'm shocked for 53 minutes of this podcast.
I'm trying to
That name hasn't come out, but it's
I mean-
finally there.
Well, I gotta be careful. I was thinking he's got 99 goals. I've just got to wait for one more goal for a video on him.
Wait for one more goal.
98 were non-league, yeah?
Yeah, there you go.
I think he'll do it.
He,
I
he
think-
might.
Listen, right, Lincoln in the lower league Championship even, Championship, League 1, League 2 conquerors, people don't stay at the club longer than 2-3 years.
That's how it works.
Apart from our team.
We were lucky. We were stupid. Norwich have been stupidly lucky with how long our players have stayed.
Because what it is, there's so many managers come in, so many teams change the managers, and not all going to like your players. So Appleton won't be long at Lincoln.
Oh, he
He'll be
will.
long soon.
He's not going to. Clive Mason's not going to sack him. They've got the money to get rid of him.
He won't be. Something will happen. He'll either get poached from someone because, to be fair, his reputation in football is good. Even though I know your views. His reputation in football is good.
If he was good, why did he come to us? He was out of job since 2017.
It's a good job.
It's not a good.
Would you take Daniel Farker at Lincoln?
I would take anyone. I'd take Danny in the job.
I think as much as obviously Lincoln are an incredible club and they're absolutely fantastic, I think Daniel Farker can do a lot better than Lincoln. But
God!
Would
anyone can do better than Lincoln.
Would you take his football? Would you be happy with it?
I would take.
What do you think he'd be able to bring to the team? Because obviously it isn't just the manager.
Oh no,
It's not just the manager.
No, it's not finance and thing as well. It's just, we're investing the money in the wrong place. We're investing in a stadium upgrade when we're not filling the stadium out, and we need money in the squad. The squad is not. We haven't really very deep players. Like when the players are brought in, are all free transfers. It's just not good enough for the league, aren't. And we need to invest money back into like Claymates hasn't put the money where it needs to be really, and we need a manager who will put good philosophy of football down, who inspires players. We look at the Blackpool game last season. The players were on loan, they didn't want to go home, they didn't look like they wanted to play for us. And this season, most of the players are young and inexperienced, they've got no leader in that squad, with our captain being out, our vice captain being injured again, and our other striker, who was our main source of goals, out again. It's just, and Scotty being out for the past month now, we're just lacking quality everywhere, and lacking leaders, and Apple's football just doesn't suit Lincoln. It's just, and there were players on the pitch, and we've just got nothing really. When I watch football now, we're going to win 1-0. Lose 1-0 or draw it, there's just no excitement anymore for Lincoln.
Well, I know obviously you had a poor result at the weekend. Norwich's result was pretty decent. Could have gone for 3 points, to be honest. And I like what Dean Smith said in his interview, and I completely agree with him. Last week against Southampton, with that defensive performance in the first half, we were almost lucky to take. We were always lucky to take an extra 2 points from that game, and I think we were 2 points short from this game. So. That's how football works. You have got results this season. You have picked up results. So it shows.
Not many.
Not many, but it shows the team can do something. When they put
it means a player can do. When Scully scored, he scored 7 goals just from his own doing. But most of the time he doesn't do it. And when you're looking at games, he plays the same position. He doesn't do it week in, week out. Yeah. Hopper, he's not your main source of goals. He's a target man, and that's all he is. When he's got the ball at his feet, he's a bit lacklustre.
You need to be happy as a Lincoln fan for where you are.
No, I'm not going to have to be a stable club until we get stable ownership and stable.
How is it not a stable club?
What does a stable Lincoln look like to you?
We're having constant source of flow. We're not requiring our investors to keep pumping money into the club to keep it afloat. We're putting like millions of pounds into it. I want a club where we have a good solid foundation, where we're producing a good solid youth.
Community club?
A good
start.
This
way, if you get relegated, you get your parachute payments.
Well, we're having Matt Reed in charge of soon, so I want that.
Right, do you know what, ladies and gentlemen? On that note, I think we're going to end it there. Danny, thanks for coming on, mate. It's been a pleasure having you on.
Very good.
David, it's been absolutely brilliant, hasn't it? Have you enjoyed having Danny on?
It's been a nice long video, hasn't it?
It's been
you did all these questions for me.
To be fair, I think we did cover quite a lot of them on just through the podcast, really. And I think obviously watching it back, you'll get to see.
Yeah, you got loads of questions there. Oi, we're going to take a time out. Part 2 coming up.
We're going to make this a part 2 series, guys.